Good morning. Today we are going to learn a new topic, that is structure in C programming. So let's start with the introduction. Here in this video lecture we are going to learn what is structure, why it is introduced, what is the use of it, how it is different from other data types, right? So first of all we are starting with the introduction. So what is structure? All right. So here in this slide you can see we can find a different situations where we need to store a data, right? So here what we are going to do, we are going to store the data. As earlier in our lectures we have seen that there are different data types, in that we are going to store the data and then later on we can access, right? So similarly over here we are going to store the data items, right, that are logically related but contains a different type of information which require different data types. What is the meaning of it? We are here going to store a different type of information with different data type. Okay, right? Suppose say for example, how you can relate this. So suppose if I want to store a student record, right? So what you can consider in a student record, right? So student record is a collection of some items like a roll number you can store, right? The address you can store, the city you can store, and gender you can store. You can notice over here we are storing a different information, different type of information, right, which requires a different data type. Suppose say here roll number is a type of integer, name, address, city is array of characters you can see over here, and gender is again a character type variable, right? And here one another variable is, that is age, it is again of integer type. So this is one example, that if you want to store a student record, then how you can do. This is another example, if I want to store the book information, right? So what kind of you can say information you can store in this book collection, right? Suppose say for title, author name, publisher name, number of pages, price, what is the year of publication. Okay, so these many informations you can store in this particular book collection, right? So now to handle this kind of a data, right, which contains a different data types, which contains a different types of information, right, how you can handle this, right? So this can be handled in a C language with the use of structure. Okay, so now you are clear why we are going to use this particular structure. We are going to use the structure to handle, okay, to handle different type of information, okay, and different data type. Okay, right? So this is a definition of a structure. Now again we are seeing a detail that what is structure, right? So if you want to say in a one sentence, then structure is a collection of elements of either a similar, yes, you can also store a similar kind of data, or the main purpose is to use to store a dissimilar data type that shares a common name. Okay, here various elements, whatever elements you are going to store in a structure, later on we are going to see what is the basic structure of a structure, right? So here a various element of structure you can store in this is known as the structure element, or you can say the structure member, right? Another important point is, in our class we have learned about different type of data types, right? So in that primitive data type, then derived data type, and user defined data type. So we have seen that chart, right? So here a structure is user defined data type, right? So here structure is user defined data type. Here I have put different examples of the structure, right? So you can also create a structure like time, date, and the book, right? In that, what you can do, you can store different kind of informations. You can store different kind of informations, like suppose say for time, seconds, minutes, hour, date, day, month, year. So this kind of different informations you can store in this particular structure. So I hope you all are clear with the structure definition. Okay, now the next is how you can define this particular structure. Okay, so here is the structure definition, here is the syntax, how you can define the structure element. So first of all, you have to define a struct keyword. You have to define a struct keyword. After that, you have to provide a structure name, or you can say a tag, right? So you can provide a structure name or tag of that particular structure. Then you have to provide two curly braces. Don't forget to put this semicolon, this is compulsory. And here you can define different type of information, like here member 1, member 2, then the data type of this member 1, then the data type of this member 2. So this way you can define a particular structure, right? So side by side I have put the example over here, right? So the struct is a keyword, here is a book bank, right? In this, title, author, pages, and the price, right? So four different structure members are defined within this particular book bank structure, right? And here is the data type of that particular structure. So here let's understand what this means. Structs is a keyword, this is our structure name, or you can say the tag name, right? And then you can define the structural elements or the member. Okay, so this way you can define the particular structure, you can say, of any name, right? Now how you can define, so we have already seen. So here these are the necessary, you can say, elements whenever you are defining a particular structure, right? Suppose say for keyword, structure name, list of a variable name separated by the commas, whatever we have seen earlier. So that is depicted over here in this slide. Okay, right. Now the next point is, here another example is given, right? So before this, let's understand how you can define this particular structure and how the memory is allocated to it, right? So for that, we are going to use a particular uh, definition over here, right? So what you can do, so here suppose say I'm going to define one, let me take this, okay, right? Now here I'm going to define one structure, you can say employee. This is my structure, right? So here what you can do, this is my block of this particular structure. Okay, then here I'm going to define a particular members. So integer employee number, then you can say a character employee name, it's 20, and then suppose say float salary, right? So here what I have done, I have defined one, you can say the structure, right? The name of the structure is employee. Then I have defined three different you can say member of the structure, that is e number, e name, and suppose say let's take e salary. Okay, so these are the member. So if you consider our slide 1, then this is a keyword, this is a name of structure, and these are the members. These are the members. Okay, now let's take how the particular, this is just a data type, this is just a data type. When you write this, no memory is allocated to this. Okay, so when the particular memory is going to be allocated, right, so then after that we are going to define void main. Okay, this is our main function, right? So here in this, how you can define this, so struct employee e. So what I did over here, now I have created a particular, you can say, variable, right? What variable of which type? This is my type employee, this is my type, this is a whole type, how you can define a particular type. Okay, so struct employee e, this is my variable. You can say how you can access the structure of a variable. Later on we'll see how you can calculate the size of particular structure variable and the whole structure programmatically, but right now let's focus on this, how you can access a particular structure member, right? So a structure members are not a variable, so you cannot access this particular structure member directly. Okay, so for that what you have to use, you have to use a dot operator, right? So with the use of dot operator you can access the particular structure member, right? So what is dot operator? So it is used to provide a link between structure member and a structure variable, right? It is also known as the period operator, or you can say the member operator, you can give any name to this particular dot operator, right? So now what is the syntax, how you can access it, right? So here you have to provide a structure variable, then you have to provide a dot, and then you have to provide a structure name, right? So as per our previous example, if I want to access the particular employee number, so what I can write, structure variable, what was our structure variable, it is e, then what is our structure member, so I want to access the number, right? So e number, right? If I want to access the name, then e dot e name, right? So likewise you can access the particular member of a structure with the use of dot operator, right? So below I have given the example, right? Book one dot price, book one dot author. Okay, now you can assign the values to that. How you can assign the value to that particular variable, that is a different part, we'll see it later on, but right now you can directly assign value like book dot pages is 100 pages. What is the price? So book one dot price is equals to 120.50, right? Okay, so this way you can access the particular member of any structure. Okay, now let us you can say see one example programmatically. So whatever we have discussed over here, introduction, what is structure, why it is used, how you can store the information. After that we have seen how the memory is allocated whenever you are defining the structure and creating a variable. Okay, and then how you can access a structure member, right? So up to this I hope we all are clear. Okay, now one question is commonly asked in the viva, or you can say interview, like what is the difference between array and structure? Okay, right? So it is very common, right? So in array variable, how you can say define any particular array variable. Okay, right? So the main difference between array and structure is how you can define the array, like integer a of 10, or you can say directly you can assign 1 2 3 4 and the 5, right? So what you can do over here, this is array versus structure. In array we can store a number of elements, but all the number of elements, or you can say all the elements, are of a same type, right? If you want to store a different type of data, then you cannot store it, right? It only contains the homogeneous data, right? But here what we are going to do, here we are going to store the employee information, right? We are going to store the student information, we are going to store the book information, right? So what it contains, it contains a different information, right? Employee number, employee name, student, you can say roll number, student name, okay, book name, price. So here you can see we are storing a different information of a different type. So if you want to store this particular data, then this will fail, right? You cannot access this here in a C programming. Okay, right? So this is a one basic difference between array and structure, right? So array again contains a similar kind of data. You can only store this is integer, then your integer. If float, then float, right? If character, then you can store the characters, right? But you cannot store the dissimilar data type in the particular array. So for that you have to go for the structure, right? So now let's put our all the discussion in a programming way. So how you can write the program, first of all. So here I have used a Visual Studio Code, right? This is the one of the text editor. So let's start our programming, right? So okay, now how you can define the structure, struct, then our example is employee. I'm going to define one structure employee, right? Then I'm going to define one variable, then I'm going to uh, define another, you can say, and that is 20, okay? And then a float salary, right? Don't forget to put this particular semicolon. Okay, now here I'm going to define our main method, right? So in the main method, how you can define the particular type, here this is our type, and then I'm going to define a variable. Okay, now suppose if I want to assign a value to this, then here I can write you can say 101, then employee name is suppose say you can say for Sachin, right? And the salary is 10,000, right? So you can initialize the values of variable, or you can say the structure variable like this, right? But you cannot change the order because it will be assigned a same kind of, right? So suppose if you are defining 101, that will be assigned to E number, Sachin will be assigned to E name, and 10,000 will be assigned to E salary, right? Now how we can access this? So suppose if I want to print the information of these, then printf, then our first is a percentage, you can say D slash n, okay, then okay, comma, in number, then printf stage D slash n, sorry, it's percentage as e dot e name, don't forget this, e dot e number, right? And then print f percentage f, then you can say e dot e salary. Okay, so this way you can, don't forget to put the return 0 because we have used integer main. Okay, now we are going to save this, right? emp struct dot c. So I have saved this code in my desktop, on my desktop, right? So now let's execute this code. There are two ways to execute this code. Here we have used the IDE, then you can directly go for the run here, or you can store that you can run. I will show you different way, right? So here what you can do, you can see that whatever information we have stored, so that particular information is displayed over here as a part of this particular output, right? Now, so same example, if I want to execute from the terminal, right? So the first of all, where I have stored that, so you can go for changing the directory, right? Okay, now GCC, because we are using the particular you can say C compiler, GCC compiler, right? Then my structure, okay, there are two files .c. So I have successfully compiled that file ./a. I hope you are aware of this particular terminal commands, right? So if you execute this code, so now you can see that the output will be displayed over here, the role, employee number, employee name, employee salary. So this way you can write a simple structure program, okay, and you can display the information, you can access the particular information of this particular you can say type. Now suppose, say for example, if I want to print the size of this particular structure variable, then a percentage, if I want to find the size of this particular you can say structure, right? So I can write this, I can write this, okay, and okay, now it's good. So let's execute this code. What is long, but argument is of struct EP is okay. Now why it is showing this? Okay, so let's put out e number. Okay. Oh, size, I forgot. Forgot the size of e, right? Then whatever size we have calculated, so that will be displayed over here, right? So 28, so 28, okay, e number, 20, e salary. So here is the size of this particular you can say total structure. You can individually also print that particular size, like percentage, comma, it's the same function. We are going to use size of e dot e number, right? The same will be calculated over here, name and the salary. Okay, now you can display all this particular information here. Okay, I did forgot to put slash n. Okay, again if you execute this,